On this edition of DEAFCulture Spotlight, a deaf DJ shares his story from the turntables to the stage. In our question and answer segment, the Highlander Research and Education Center, an 88-year-old organization, shares their vision for language justice. In our Word on the Street segment, deaf adults discuss the impact of COVID-19 on their daily lives. Our Spotlight story features a coder from South Africa, who is also an interpreter that services some of the over 2 million deaf individuals in South Africa. All this and more on DEAFCulture Spotlight.
When that him or that for or
Good afternoon, Tony. Good, how are you? Okay. Yeah. That would be to Jen DeSalvo and Lucy Diaz. I think there's a moment, actually. Yes, Lucy's, I believe, is 6230. And Jen is 6223. But I will, the easiest way to
Highlander Research and Education Center has been around since 1932. We came out of the labor movement. And so for almost 90 years, we have been a gathering space for people of all experience, specifically dealing with Appalachia in the South, leading the way to social justice. We gather each other, we support each other, and we dream and scheme together. Language justice is a methodology that precedes me being there, but it's a methodology that is about us providing justice and language. And I think when we combine those two terms, language justice, what we're talking about is making sure that the way we communicate is inclusive. And we want justice in our full lives, and that includes people talk about gender justice, racial justice. We want language justice, which means that we want to be able to have more space and access for all folks who to enter of all creeds, languages. I mean, not creeds, but more so languages. To include panelists who happen to be hard and deaf deaf on multiple, on all of it, inside and embedded. And ever since then, I have been doing my very best to be intentional about making sure that folks are not just an afterthought. And that's what felt really clear to me was, hey, don't just have one panel and then two people doing interpretation. No, there are experts on the totality of this social justice movement who are deaf and hard of hearing, who need to be involved in the programming of our work and not just in an ASL panel.
Not only have we been having interpreters, but we're also really trying to center them and ask, like, what works for you? What is helpful for you? And then trying to get with the communities that, that we're doing the accessibility for, to ask, like, what do you want? What would you like to see? So I think that it's really been a learning experience, and it's really sharpened us. And Janae has just been such an amazing, inspirational person to work beside and to really just strengthen us.
Right. I want to add that I think language justice, I was just doing some more research, is the intentional decision not to center English. And Kayla mentioned that, and that is the crux of Highlander, which has been around since 1932, like Kayla mentioned, that mountain people, people of rural places, Black people, working class white people, poor white people. I mean, we come from people who had to use language and communicate before English was, I think, created, if we were to even think about hieroglyphics, right? And so what we want to do is make sure not to center that language as the dominant language, the same way we wouldn't center Christianity as its supremacy.
Okay, my name is, most people know me as Lee or DJ Super Lee. I started out as a deaf DJ. I started DJing when I was about 16 years old. My father is a DJ. He taught me how to DJ. That's how I came in. So as I came along, I needed a way to let the deaf community know that we have a deaf DJ around. During my time, there were not any deaf DJs around. They were not taken seriously. So I hosted events to showcase my DJ skills, and it's been very successful. And I've been doing that for a while. And then after that, when I felt like I accomplished as much as I could, I made a transaction to host an ASL poetry. I made a proposal to busboys opposed about hosting ASL poetry, and they let me be responsible for that. And I've been running that for 11 years now. So, yeah. As a DJ in the beginning, they were shocked, they were shocked. But at first, they don't recognize that I'm deaf because I blend the music well. And when they find out that I'm deaf, they're like dumbfounded, they're like, wow, that's amazing, that's great. They can't even believe it. A lot of club owners and promoters, when I host for them, when I host an event at their places, they have never experienced what I provided. So when I pack their halls with deaf people, they are like, wow, they're just amazed. But Boys and Poets, same thing. When I presented the idea of hosting a poetry, they loved the idea, but they never think. I mean, it was just an experiment kind of thing. And when they saw how successful it was, they was happy. They backed it up. And at the beginning, it's always people who are skeptical or not unsure of you until you really show them what you're capable of. The hearing community see me as a person who's a leader in deaf entertainment. The hearing community see me as someone they can come to if they need something in deaf entertainment, someone who's very knowledgeable, like a pioneer. Hearing, and deaf people view me that way. Deaf people see me as an accomplished person in a nightlife, scheme. They used to call me the king of deaf nightlife. They used to call me that. When I was young, I used to write poems. Before I lost my hearing, I used to write poems. And after I lost my hearing, the passion stopped. I guess I was trying to find myself. So what happened was, I hosted parties, I DJ'd, I did all that stuff for the community. And then I was outside hanging out with some friends, and I walked past Buck Boys and Poets. I saw a woman sitting on a chair in the audience. I looked through the glass of Buck Boys and Poets and saw a woman sitting on a chair reading a book. She was obviously reading a poem from a book, and the audience was watching. And I thought that was beautiful. And I thought to myself, the deaf community don't have nothing like that. I see a lot of artists, I see a lot of poets, visual poets, but we don't have nothing like that. So I thought, why not give that idea a try? So I made a proposal to the manager of Buck Boy that we should have an ASL poetry. And they said, that sounds great, why not you host it? Boom, that's when it started going. Yes, yes. The first person to take the stage was Aaron Loggins. Aaron loved the science songs. He was not recognized or nothing like that, but he had a strong passion for science songs. So the first event, the first person to stand up on stage was Aaron Loggins. We had a lot of great performances, so many of them inspired me, many of them uplift me. But there was a weakness in comedy. Comedy is hard in the deaf community. So one time DJ Jones came and he stood up on stage and he did a comedy. Oh, I laughed. I looked back at the crowd, the whole room was laughing. Oh, DJ Jones was champ that night. That was one of the most memorial performances I can remember. Over time, my family has always been supportive. If it's a big event, they will come and support. Mostly small events, mostly my friends support me. Right now, I have children. And I'm hoping to continue inspiring my children. They look up to me, and I don't want them to see a Black deaf man who's trying, and nothing happened. I want them to see a Black deaf man who make things happen for myself.